those are the highlights. Those are the things, obviously, you ask them because they're top of mind for everyone. But I'll tell you, another thing that's important to me is what I call the soul of the country. I think that we have, in many ways, moved away from our founding principles. We've gotten off track, largely because we've forgotten what made America exceptional. After the Baton Rouge shootings several weeks ago, I was called into the KTBS studio to do an interview from a legislator's perspective. As y'all remember, it was a Sunday morning. We all heard, and I went over there. And when I arrived at the studio, the governor and the state police and local law enforcement in Baton Rouge were just beginning to hold their press conference. So we watched that live on the studio floor, and then they said, "Can you go live with us and share your response?" Sure. Well, the last thing that was said right before they went live with us was Sheriff Sid Gotro, and he said, "We don't have a gun problem in this country. We have a heart problem." And we do. The problem is that the founders believed that virtue was the underlying foundation of our society. And without virtue, you cannot sustain a constitutional republic. Alexis de Tocqueville famously wrote Democracy in America after he traveled the American countryside in the early 1830s. And he famously concluded, America's great because she's good. If she ever ceases to be good, she will cease to be great. I think we have to have a dialogue and a public discourse about, it goes back to this civility and kindness and gentleness, because religion, morality, and virtue were deemed to be the indispensable supports of a constitutional republic. We're still an experiment on the world stage. 240 years is nothing in the span of human history. We don't know how long this form of government can last, but we do know what the founders warned us, and I think they were brilliant in their projections and their prognostication to us. And they said you have to maintain those basic rules, or else the system itself is not going to work. All the rest of these things are side issues unless we can get back to what makes us good. And there's a lot of different approaches to that and ways that we should do it, but I think it's something that needs to be discussed more and is discussed way too little. So that's kind of what animates me to do a lot of this. But again, parting comments, really grateful for y'all's time. In Washington yesterday, we met with Steve Scalise, Congressman Scalise, in the Bossier Chamber. I went and met with the NFIB, the National Federation for Independent Business. I walked in and they have a plaque on the thing. Their motto says, "The voice for small business." And I sat down at the interview around a table like this and I said, "I thought I was the voice for small business." They said, "No, you can be." That's what I liken myself to be in Baton Rouge, and I'll do the same thing in Washington. I don't think there's enough common sense there. I don't think there's enough people who are willing to make hard votes, say the difficult things, and advance the policy that's going to be best for the country. And I'm willing to do that and take the arrows for having done it. Some of y'all know I was 4 inches taller when I got elected to the legislature. Okay, they beat me down mercilessly, but we never compromised those core ideals and principles. I think that's what it's going to take the next few years in Congress. So appreciate your time and the opportunity to talk about it. Thanks.